right, welcome. For today's lesson, let's go here. We are going to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. Okay? Here's how you do it. Here are the steps. Basically, the first 4 steps are what we did for homework last night, and these 2 steps are what we did on Monday. So we're putting those 6 steps together, and this is as complicated as it gets. So this is the whole thing. First step, make sure the constant is on the right. Notice that this is number 1 from your homework. Okay. Is the constant already on the right for this problem? It is. So, let me just switch to the right color pen. Okay, it's not going to switch for me. Okay. So we make sure that the constant is on the right. It already is. So for step number 1, I'm just going to recopy. X squared minus 4x equals 12. Okay. Second step, find C. You can either use a picture or you can use the formula. You could take half of B and then square it, but I like to use the picture. Okay, we're just taking the left-hand side and we're going to turn it into a perfect square trinomial. This is my x squared. I put half of my x's on this side and half of my x's on this side. How many dots do I need to be able to complete the square? I need 4. So C equals 4. Next step, we're going to add 4 to both sides. X squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 12 plus 4. Okay. Do you see how we have a perfect square trinomial now? How is that going to help us? Watch this. We're going to factor the left-hand side. We end up with x minus 2 squared. We knew this was a perfect square trinomial. We took the square root of the first term, we took the square root of the last term, and we used the sign from the middle term. On the right-hand side, I just can combine. That becomes 16. Right, now we take the square root of both sides. This is Monday night's homework. We end up with x minus 2 equals 4, or x minus 2 equals negative 4. Okay? Now how do we solve for the variable? How can we isolate x? Well, we're going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. X equals 6. Or, let's add 2 to both sides of this equation. X equals negative 2. This is your final answer. You've got 2 solutions or 2 roots. There they are. Let me do one more problem with you. Let's try number 4. There is not a lot of space on this paper, so on your homework sheet, so you probably want to get out another piece of paper to write it all down so it can be neat. Okay, first step, make sure the constant's on the right. N squared minus 10n equals 14. Find C. What's C? Well, we're going to take half of those n's and put them on this side. Take half of the n's and put them on this side. How many dots do we need? 1, 2. We need a row of 5 here, 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 a row of 5 here. How many do we have altogether? 25. So that's C. C equals 25. So what do we do with C? We're going to add it to both sides. That's going to help us turn n squared minus 10n into a perfect square trinomial. But if we add it on one side, we also have to add it on the other. This becomes n minus 5 squared equals, what's 25 plus 14? 39. Okay. Now we're going to take the square root of both sides. Square root, square root. You end up with n minus 5 equals positive root 39, or n minus minus 5 equals negative root 39. Good? Can we simplify root 39? That's just 3 times 13. Any perfect squares there? No, we can't simplify it. Now we're going to add 5 to both sides of each equation. This one becomes n equals, can we combine these? No, they're not like terms, so we say 5 plus root 39. Do the same thing here. We add 5 to both sides of this equation. We can't combine because they're not like terms, so we say 5 minus root 39. Okay. Let me go ahead and give you a couple more examples. Let's subtract 4 from both sides. Oh my goodness, my pen's having trouble. All right, so we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. We end up with m squared minus 6m equals negative 4. Let's find c. Here's m squared. We'll put 3 m's on this side and 3 m's on this side. How many dots do we need? How many? 9. That makes the perfect square. So you end up with m squared minus 6m plus 9. That's our perfect square. But if we add 9 to this side, we also have to add 9 to the other side. That makes the equation still true. Okay, sorry, I got a little out here. This is step 3. Now let's do step 4. If I factor a perfect square trinomial, I take the square root of the first term, the square root of the last term, and the sine of that middle term. M minus 3 squared equals, combine these, 5. Take the square root of both sides. You end up with m minus 3 equals root 5, or m minus 3 equals negative root 5. Now, how do we solve for the variable? Add 3 to both sides. You end up with m equals 3 plus root 5, or m equals 3 minus root 5. All right, I think I have time to do one more. Let's subtract 30 from both sides. Step 1, x squared minus 14x equals negative 24. All right, we need to complete the square here, but we need to find c. What number will help complete the square? Here's my x squared. I put half of those x's on this side and half on this side. Can you see how many dots I'm going to need? I'm going to need 7 rows, and each row is going to need 7. So what's 7 times 7? 49. So we're going to take x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals negative 24 plus 49. You have to add that 49 to both sides. One more time. This is my third step. Now I got to factor. This perfect square trinomial becomes x and 7 with a minus sign. X minus 7 squared equals, it's 49 minus 24. 49 minus 20 is 29, so that becomes 25. Take the square root of both sides. You end up with x minus 7 equals 5, or x minus 7 equals negative 5. Let's add 7 to both sides. You end up with x equals 12, or x equals 2. right, that should be enough to help you do your homework. Good luck.